All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here talking about real music in real time for a few real people out there, just like you and just like me. I wasn't sure I was going to do this video, but it is a slow news day. Thankfully, there aren't any new reports of rock stars having health issues, so I'm just going to actually talk. Believe it or not, I'm just going to talk straight up about music. And I'm starting off by showing this brand new album from the band High South. All right, here it is. Feel This Good. Just got it in the mail yesterday. You open it up, you kind of get that peaceful, easy feeling, right? Back cover looking very much like something America or the Eagles, or maybe even Crosby, Stills, and Nash would put forth. And lo and behold, this band has been around for 10 years. 10 years. And with no radio support system, a lot of people, most people, have never heard of them. I sent a song to my friend who runs this site called endangeredcds.com, and he couldn't believe this. He was like, where have these guys been? This is amazing. Essentially, with bands like, CSN, CSNY, whatever, they're done, obviously. And the Eagles are on their farewell tour. America is still out there, but really in the twilight of their career. Here comes a band that has all of those characteristics. High South. Go listen to this. This will blow you away. And the band, they've been around for 10 years. Now, there's no support system in place to promote this. I've never read an article in a classic rock publication talking about this band. They embody everything that classic rock used to be. Although if I go to a classic rock website, I'm going to hear about whether or not Devo, the band Devo, is going to go on tour, how they're winding it down after a glorious 45-year run or something like that. Devo, right? Now, I'm not poking fun at Devo per se, but they're a one-hit wonder band. They're essentially a new wave band, and yes, new wave can be classic rock, and I don't dislike it. I grew up during it, but I always tended to gravitate toward music like this. But my point is, what's more classic rock? Something like this or Devo? Now, this isn't old, and it hasn't had a long radio history. So age being a factor in whether something is classic rock or not can't be applied, apparently, to a band like High South. Now, let me just read you from their website so you understand what this is. So they're on their 10th anniversary tour with impressive three-part harmonies, a dedication to songwriting, and unwavering optimism. That's a good point. This isn't a doom and gloom style of music. These guys kind of exude sunshine, which apparently since the grunge era has been frowned upon. So if you want happy music, if you want optimistic music, these guys deliver, right? But critics, they're too busy wallowing in the muck and the mire of today's world, which is typically very dark, and they tend to gravitate toward bands that sound like that stuff. It sounds dark, then, ooh, it's edgy, it's cool. The critics really like it. These guys come along as a hybrid of America and the Eagles, and, hey, it's just not our cup of tea. For some folks that want simplistic things, who aren't very cultured, I guess, even though this, to me, is extremely cultured because it's so well produced. The harmonies are brilliant. Anyway, let me keep reading here. High South has developed a dedicated following through their records and touring since the year 2013. a captivating project that draws comparisons to classic rock bands like the Eagles, Doobie Brothers, and Crosby, Stills, and Nash. The group's two original founding members, James Garner and Kevin Campos, sum it up this way. As vocalists, we are always drawn to harmony. It's such a naturally pleasing sound that we're absolutely hooked on. And it was never more prevalent during the 1970s, or more so than in the 70s. Every kid learns from their environment, and we were fortunate to have parents that exposed us to the music of this era. In a sense, it's in our soul. So this article, or this biography, essentially their story, is up on their website, highsouthofficial.com. They were picked up by the William Morris Agency, spent the next few years touring with country music's biggest names. Now, have you ever heard High South on country radio? Nope, I haven't. They toured with Blake Shelton, Dierks Bentley, Kenny Chesney, Brooks and Dunn, just to name a few. Garner was also a featured soloist with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. You've got to be a really good singer to be in TSO. So if that doesn't pique your interest, I'm not sure what will. They go on to say it would still take a few years before Garner and Campos would meet, play guitars, and bond over the harmonies of some of their favorite artists, such as the Eagles, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and America. But almost immediately, they realized they had created something special. Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is one of a kind. This is one of a kind stuff. When I heard it, I was like, finally, somebody's going to carry the torch and keep the legacy alive. And I know there are a lot of people in this audience who appreciate new material, but there are a lot of people in my demographic who are just clinging to the stuff they listen to, almost as a rebellious way to give, to flip the bird to everybody who is into a lot of this newer stuff, this darker stuff that's out there. I'm trying to say there are bands out there that you can go and listen to and appreciate. And I'm really kind of ticked off at the music world, at the music industry, for not picking up on music like this, and for being so narrow-minded that if you're running a classic rock radio station, and I know all of this stuff is programmed, it's formatted, there's never any new music unless, a morning show decides to get off the computer for a song or two and, drop in a file from somebody that they're trying to promote for the morning show. But you'll never hear that song on their radio station again. It's like you're interrupting the flow, and you go right back to their regularly pre-programmed format. So I'm going to be sharing this stuff with my friends over at modernretrofm.com because it's absolutely brilliant. You can pick any of these tracks. I was listening to a track called Feeling That Feeling, right? You can know right away that this is optimistic. It's upbeat, lots of acoustic guitars, lots of that Americana organic instrumentation that is pure ear candy. I mean, again, if I'm stranded on an island and it's something like this that I'm stranded with, I'm going to be really happy. That and the fact I'm going to need some food, and hopefully, Tom Hanks will show up at some point and teach me how to fish and, do some things on the island to make things better. But if I have a way to play music, then High South, I would be fine if I had music like High South there to help me cope with the fact that I'm stranded. I mean, look, I get it. The world is going in a completely different direction. the music industry destroyed itself in the 90s and hasn't changed course. Yeah, there are pockets of good things happening, but it's all driven by the consumer. The consumer says, hey, I'd like to hear more of this stuff. And the music industry says, no, but you can go listen to it on Spotify. And you can create your own playlist over on Spotify. That old time communal experience of jumping in the car and getting almost like approval from the people doing the programming, saying, you know what, we're putting this out there because we believe in this. And it's not just about the advertisers. It's not just about who is funding our radio station. In those days, it was about the music more so. Now, again, things weren't perfect in the 70s and 80s and whenever, when it comes to what songs got airplay and so forth. There was still controversy there, but it was more oriented around the song, around the artist. And nowadays, it seems to be, if it doesn't fit a certain template, they're not really interested in it. And if, you don't have a big social media following, or again, if the sound is a little too bright and optimistic, people will say this is cheesy. You go listen to this, they're going to say, oh, it's cheesy. It's yacht rock or whatever, and I resent that whole characterization. Yes, in some ways it's gotten people into it because it becomes its own little club. Hey, I'm on the yacht, I'm cruising around. That's fine. But see, in the old days, we could listen to new wave, and then we could listen to stuff that sounds like it came from the 70s, and you could hear it all in one place. And in some cases, that still happens, but these are songs that are beaten to death, into the ground, 40, 50 years. I mean, this goes back to the 70s for sure. It's 2023. 1973 is 50 years ago, people. And those songs, many of them, are still being played on classic rock stations, which is great. They could add a few songs from those albums rather than just sticking to the same 4 songs or whatever. And they could throw in a song or two from this. Now, country radio won't play this because it's too organic. It's not bro country, and it's got rock tendencies, so it doesn't quite fit in where they're at these days. Now, there are signs that country radio might be moving back a little bit towards a traditional sound, but typically the top artists on country use a lot of gimmicks. Their production is just at times annoying to me. I don't understand why you need a heavy bass beat in a country song. I don't get that. Just a normal bass guitar would do, and then you've got all these effects and you've got all this echo and vocals from the AM radio tin can sounding as like a background sound, and then you've got the full auto tune going on. There's just weird stuff happening over there. And country music, real organic music, should sound more like this. All right. So again, if you're a fan of the Eagles are on their farewell tour. They're saying goodbye. Joe Walsh, not that he was ever a great singer. We found out the other day, Joe really is not able to sing very well. And of course, we lost Jimmy Buffett, right? So Jimmy's got new material coming out, but I think that'll be his last album, unless there's a whole bunch of material in the vaults, which there could be, because he was ignored for much of his time. And these guys are being ignored, and this is top quality stuff. I think they have 3 albums, maybe more, but I said to myself, I'm getting this new album because I want to showcase this on this channel. So here you are, up close, High South. Feel this good, and you will feel really good listening to High South. And typically I will feature an album at the beginning and at the end of a video. In this case, which I don't typically do anymore, I'm featuring the album throughout the video. So go check out this brand new album from High South. Go to their website, highsouthofficial.com. And yeah, I'm alerting my friends over at modernretrofm.com. This is just too good to ignore. And maybe some other radio programmers will pick up on this. I doubt it, because it's all corporate and it's all focus tested, and there's no independence. If you have an independent radio station, you really need to start to branch out and to do some things that people are demanding. I hear this all the time. Dave, it's boring. They're not playing anything original anymore. They could play album cuts. They could play new material from bands like High South, and there are others. Cimarron 615, I introduced people to that as well. And, people tell me all the time, that's the best thing I've heard in that genre in a long time. Guess what? All right, I love Cimarron 615. This is better. This is better than Cimarron. So again, thanks for watching, people. I know I get on my high horse and my soapbox. I just think the music industry, it's so anemic, and we need good music in this world right now. We don't need the same crap over and over again. And we need to dig into albums like we used to. And we need a format that is interesting and not predictable. But I think those days might be over, because we've got Spotify and we've got YouTube Music, and you just build your own playlists. And I know people do that stuff. And so at the very least, I guess, go listen to this stuff and make a playlist. But if you can support the band, I think you should order yourself a copy of their new album. And I think you'll feel good. You really will. I'm not buying a lot of albums anymore. But the ones I buy, I want them to have the highest level of impact for myself and for this show. So when I showcase something, I want it to mean something. I want the audience to think, wow, this is pretty good stuff. So I tend to move to the things that I think are going to be cream of the crop, better than the rest, unless, of course, the band just sends me something. And if they're nice enough to do that, I will showcase it on their behalf. I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm just saying that there are instances where I do that because the band was nice enough to send me their music free of charge. So that's it here. Don't forget about Patreon and modernretrofm.com. If you can support this channel on Patreon, it's very helpful as we continue to try to be more independent with the content as time goes on. And I'm not sure if this platform is going to be a friendly place forever. It has been a little inhospitable at times, but I'm thankful to them for keeping me, at least for the time being. God bless you all, and I will see you soon.